Welcome to the final days. Today is April 11, 2019. Today we will be viewing the sun 20 times its normal size from more than one camera, striped celestial objects, enormous red spheres in the sky, solar eclipses, purple beams coming down from the sky, and other unexplainable sky and space anomalies never mentioned in mainstream news. The purpose of this channel is to show the viewers that we are living in the very last days according to the Holy Bible, and to explain why this is actually very good news and cause for celebration, explained later in this video. The images being shown are current, unedited photos from the Federal Aviation weather cameras in Alaska and Canada. Each image is 10 minutes apart from the next, forming a time-lapse video, such as the one playing now from the east-facing weather camera located in Minks Island, Alaska. The black dot you see in front of the sun is equipment that NASA launched out away from the Earth's surface, much closer to the Earth than the sun. It tracks in perfect synchronization with the sun and also casts a reflection upon the water, as you can see, proving that it's not a camera or lighting issue. This black dot is captured in thousands of weather cameras in the far north. The reason we usually don't see this black dot from the lower 48 states is because during those times when it would be visible, our skies are heavily chemtrailed. This black dot equipment is capable of producing an enormous circular glare, thousands of miles in diameter, such as this footage that you're seeing from the Scammon Bay camera. And also from Dead Horse, Alaska, we see the same thing happening. The reason for the enormous sun is to produce glare that completely hides total solar eclipses, such as this one from the east-facing weather camera located in Casablanca, Alaska. The odd-shaped colored reflections that you see are produced by the sun shining on projectors and equipment that we will see in a minute. These projectors fly between us and the eclipsing celestial objects, and when the sun comes into the camera's field of view, it shows their bright reflections. We know this can't be a lens flare because in a couple frames, clouds are actually in front of this celestial object. Clouds can never be in front of a camera-produced lens flare. During these daily multiple solar eclipses, NASA's black dot equipment produces a circular glare that passes in front of the eclipsing celestial object, while the real sun passes behind it, concealing the eclipse from view. Untold trillions have been spent for decades building an incredible system of deception to hide the inbound planetary system from public view. The technology for this system likely comes from the fallen angels, the demonic realm, since they've been here much longer than we have, and they are very smart. The enemies of Christ do not want you to know how close to the end we are. They do not want you to turn your life over to Christ while you still have time. Information is at the end of this video instructing you on how to accept Christ into your life. The east-facing camera in Nunapitchuk, Alaska, shows something rising to the right of the sun. As this celestial object emerges from the sun's glare, it comes into view better. Some contrast helps to bring it out. We know this cannot be a lens flare of the sun because we can easily see that this celestial object is rotating much faster than our sun. Our sun rotates once every 27 Earth days. This object is rotating much faster than that. The northeast-facing camera in Tuluxac, Alaska, shows something rising to the left of the sun, the opposite side of the sun than the object we just watched a minute ago. This object is difficult to see, but some contrast helps to see it better. If the contrast is used only where needed, it works much better and makes the object show up much better than if applied over the entire photo. Jesus is describing the last days in Luke chapter 21 verse 25 when he says that we will see signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. As the sun is rising, viewed from the Mountain Village camera in Alaska, an enormous red celestial object is setting, heading in the complete opposite direction as the sun. Notice the reflection of the bell-shaped projector, which projects background sky upon atmospheric particles sprayed by jets, in order to hide the spherical object from view. These objects are getting so close that this method of concealment is now failing. As Christians, we are commanded to watch for these signs and wonders, signaling the end of the age, so that we are not ignorant of the very late hour in which we are living, and so that we can be spiritually prepared for what lies ahead, and also help others to become spiritually prepared. The bell-shaped projector is only used during an eclipse. This projector can also be seen at nighttime, projecting a light onto the moon, as viewed here from the south-facing camera at Harris River Pass. The bell-shaped object carefully keeps pointing at the moon as it crosses paths with the moon. In these frames, the moon is being eclipsed by an object between the moon and the earth. Some of these objects are now close enough to affect our magnetic pole structure, our tectonic plates, producing increased volcanic and earthquake activity. We are also experiencing a fractured jet stream, leading to very strange and extreme weather, random receding oceans, unprecedented numbers of sinkholes, and other effects, the cause of which is never mentioned to the public. The closest approach of this planetary system will occur during the biblically foretold time of the Great Tribulation. This is a 7-year period of God's wrath upon the earth that many won't survive. Later in this video, I'll explain why this is good news and cause for celebration. The northeast-facing camera in Hooper Bay, Alaska, has a couple different things going on. At first glance, we don't see much, but closer examination of these frames shows a large celestial object near the top right of this image, which has been very blurred by technology, which we'll explain in just a minute. The projection craft is also visible as a dot. It always flies between us and the celestial object, projecting camouflage onto the atmospheric particulate to make it appear as simply sky. The objects are getting close enough that this camouflage system doesn't work as well as it used to, so it does allow viewing of the planetary system better. This celestial orb and others are signs and wonders signaling the last days before the coming of the biblically foretold Great Tribulation. The east-facing camera in Portage Creek, Alaska, shows a couple different interesting objects. These images take place over the course of 2.5 hours. Notice that during this entire time, these objects don't move. They are stationary. These are massive lenses that bend light and remove focus from objects in order to hide this inbound planetary system. Once again, the enemies of Christ do not want you to know how close to the end we are. This system of mass deception is why our national debt is higher than the entire world's gross income. This is where the money has been going. The east-facing camera in Edgegik, Alaska, shows the projection craft attempting to hide a celestial object. This object is difficult to see, but some contrast brings it into view. We see the projection craft here, but we don't see its pink reflection at the bottom of the screen like we do in thousands of these images. The sun has to be just in the right position in order to see the reflections. I left the last picture in so that the viewers can see the object completely hidden behind the clouds, proving that this cannot be a lens flare. A camera-produced lens flare cannot be hidden behind clouds. The south-facing camera in Mentasta, Alaska, captured an enormous celestial object. This object is so large that the projection craft is actually having difficulty hiding it. It's really difficult to imagine something in our solar system this large, yet still millions of miles away. Last year we saw something very similar to this from the south-facing camera in Hoonah, Alaska. The size of this celestial object was so huge that neither the top nor bottom of it could be seen on the camera's image. It has been blurred by technology, but we can still see the spherical three-dimensional shape of this beige-colored object. We know this can't be a lens flare because NASA's circular glare is reacting to this object as its glare stretches out toward this object in an attempt to engulf it in glare and hide it from view. NASA's circular glare takes on a very contorted shape in this process. This is another sign that we are living in the very last days. The amount of time remaining to repent and turn to Christ is very short for those who haven't done so. Information is at the end of this video on how to accept Christ. The south-facing camera in Black Rapids, Alaska shows the projection craft concealing a large spherical object. I may have not noticed this large object if I hadn't have seen the projection craft, which is always present during either an eclipse or a near eclipse. The craft uses laser beams to project background sky onto the atmospheric particulate between us and the celestial object. These particulates are spread by the military jets in the form of a spray. It's like placing a sky-colored smoke screen between us and the celestial object. The closer these objects become, the less effective the smoke screen is. We know this object isn't a lens flare because it's being partially illuminated by NASA's circular glare above it. So essentially, the glare is reacting to this object. A lens flare can never become partially illuminated or react to the sunlight in any way because it's created from within the camera. We see the very same thing happening on the south-facing camera in Chitina, Alaska. As the sun passes by above the camera's field of view, it lights up this object in the sky. At least the top of it is lit up. This object is difficult to see without contrast, but look closely because you can see that it is definitely there. Please click on the thumbs up on this video so that it shows up in searches for others in need of this information. Thank you very much for doing that. Here are just 3 frames from the southeast facing camera in Esterdome, Alaska. Although the projection craft cannot be seen here, we still see its pink reflection in the lower right corner of the screen. Some contrast helps to bring out the celestial object being concealed by the projection craft. These images from the camera in Live and Good, Alaska show that the celestial object is successfully hidden by the projection craft. All we see in this last image is the projection craft itself. In Fort Yukon, Alaska, the south-facing camera shows the projection craft, but if you'll look toward the top of these images, you'll see something traveling to the right, which looks like a finger hanging down into these images. The celestial object below the finger is successfully hidden from view. Some contrast helps to bring out the shape of this unusual finger-shaped object traveling along with the sun and staying just below the sun over the course of 2 hours worth of images that we are viewing here. I have no idea what the finger-shaped object is, but it appears to have a pink rim around it. Since this seems to be hanging down from NASA's circular glare, I would imagine that this is some of the equipment in place to hide celestial objects and conceal eclipses. These are just more of the signs and wonders of the last days. The south-facing camera in Barrows, Alaska shows the projection craft again. It is successfully hiding the eclipsing celestial object from view. Even with contrast applied, it is still nearly invisible. On this very last frame, we can begin to make out a very vague outline of a celestial object just below the sun, but it's very tough to see. The southwest-facing camera in Taslina, Tulsona, Alaska shows the purple beam that we saw many times last year from many different cameras. This purple beam started in April of last year and also began in April of this year. More signs and wonders of the last days. Approaching the last days is actually very good news and cause for celebration for faithful followers of Jesus Christ, because he has promised to remove from earth those believers who are living in holiness. This is commonly called the rapture, which will take place quickly and quietly just before the dawn of the Great Tribulation. The New King James Version of Luke chapter 21, verse 36 reads, "Watch therefore and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass." Jesus is referring to the Great Tribulation. He is saying that those who are counted worthy will escape all of God's wrath. To be counted worthy, we must be living in holiness. A link in the description box below describes what holiness is and how to achieve it. These next few screens will tell you how to accept Christ into your life in the event you are seeking him. Simply pause the screen if you need more time to read the text. Thank you very much for watching the video.